We Are Here is a campaign for a fairer planning system which respects the views of local people and puts our homes at the top of the priority list. We have decades of experience in turning complex issues into stories that resonate with people, winning planning campaigns and reaching the corridors of power. We are supporting a number of communities across the country by offering free legal and planning advice and creating public artworks in the local area that help them tell their story.
In 2021, the population of Skegness was 21,127. Skegness attracts more than 4 million visitors each year, which generates £480 million for the local economy. There are approximately 37,000 caravans in the district, which is the highest concentration in Europe. We Are Here is raising awareness of the flood risk in Skegness and the surrounding area.
It's the people who are on the front with the fairs and the donkeys and all the entertainment things really on the front. They have all got to get together to get an answer to that, because they're going to be affected the most, aren't they?
Skegness is vulnerable to tidal and fluvial, overflowing rivers, flood events.
I think the government, the council, need to do more, because they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to spend money on the environment, and I think they ought to.
Yeah.
Because it's your life as well as ours, so they need to do something, which I don't think they want to. They want to do what they think is going to be, either bring the money in or whatever, but they're not worried about whatever goes on, I don't think.
Skegness residents with mobility issues are more likely to live in bungalows with no upper floors to retreat to.
We once got evacuated in Inglemells and was told to go to the Arthur Centre, but no dogs were allowed to go, and we refused to go to the Arthur Centre because my dogs are sensory dogs. We've got these like me and my daughter, and we both have ADHD, and our dogs are sensory dogs, and I suffer from autism, and there's no way I'd leave my little dog in the bungalow to just drown.
Skegness and surrounding villages flooded in the North Sea flood of 1953, with water reaching up to 2 miles inland. 43 people lost their lives.
Dad was 15 and a Boy Scout in Lincoln, and the call came up that the coast had been flooded, so the Boy Scout leader rallied up a few Boy Scouts. Well, it could only be 4 because they all came across in a car. So drove over to Mablethorpe, and they were meant to meet up at the Scout hut, but that had already been washed away. So they rallied at some point in a park, and then they were delegated out to dig out the houses. Dad remembers a garage, and the seawater had come through the back of the garage, opening it up and then blowing the front door off and being able to see right through it. So anyway, as 15-year-old boys, there they were digging out houses, garages and everything else down in the Queen's Park area in Mablethorpe. They weren't allowed to go into Sutton-on-Sea because the area hadn't been cleared for bodies, but they knew that the boys weren't going to stumble across anything grim in Mablethorpe.
The seawall erected in 1878 was designed to support the seafront development rather than to protect it from the sea. Nevertheless, this wall largely saved the town during the 1953 flood. Only gardens, the amusements, and part of the pier were damaged.
I think we all need to be mindful of what could happen and what we need to do to prepare in case we are flooded. And I think that would, to a certain extent, I think that would be quite reassuring.
Yeah.
To know that you, to a certain extent, you're in control. You know, of what will happen should we be flooded.
Skegness has continued to flood, most notably in 2007 and 2013.
I think we've all got to think about our property and ourselves and what if, and it's up to everybody to do what they can, because the risk is getting higher, I do believe. This is why I do not remove my flood barrier, because you never know. The weather forecasts will say there's some rain, or there might be some thunderstorms. That's when the risk is. I know Horncastle, Market Raise, and you say Hull, they've had it in the past, and it's been the rain, not necessarily the sea.
Modern sea defences have been built along a 15-mile stretch of coast to prevent erosion. But currents remove sediment, and the defences hinder dune development. A nourishment scheme began operation in 1994 to replace lost sand.
It's apprehensive because you live just outside of the area, you think you're safe, but you know that all the area where we live is all reclaimed land. It's marshland, which is not good. Croft is completely surrounded by dikes, and we had that fear of water rising and all that in the area. And even just last summer, we had water in the fields in the summertime because the land had got so saturated. It just had nowhere to go. And these are now the lands that are earmarked for contractors to build more houses on and caravan parks.
Climate change is dramatically increasing the risk of flooding in the UK, making towns like Skegness increasingly vulnerable.
It's not as if, once upon a time you could depend on certain types of weather happening seasonally. So you sort of got your long summers, hot weather, your autumns that were quite damp, winter coming would be cold, and then, sort of going into spring, maybe wetter. But nowadays it can happen at any time, any place.
Obviously it would be expensive, but life is worth it.
Well, they've got to think of the future, of what will happen in the future for perhaps just another generation, really, but you never know, do you? With the ice melting so much and the water rising, it's just waiting to happen, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Our communities are being shut out of decisions. Plans are biased towards big developers and aren't focused on flooding, sea level rise, or the protection of nature as they need to be. They are failing to protect us from high energy prices and poorly built homes, and allowing the destruction of our green spaces and favourite local buildings. This needs to change. We will be connecting, sharing and supporting. Sign up to our mailing list and follow the We Are Here hashtag, and follow us on social media for updates on the campaign.